Vajradara Sumatimo Nisha Sane Karma Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajra Shasane Karma Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradara Sumatimo Nisha Sane Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om A Guru Vajradara Sumatimo Nisha Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om A Guru Vajradara Sumatimo Nisha Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradara Sumatimo Nisha Sanekar Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradara Sumatimo Nisha Sanekar Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om A Guru Vajradara Sumatimo Nisha Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om A Guru Vajradara Sumatimo Nisha Sane Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Pakyuke Kudan Dagi Olu Pakyuke Sundan Dagi Ngam Pakyuke Tukdan Dagi Ten Yerme Chiktu Chingi Olu Makyuke Kudan Dagi Olu Makyuke Sundan Dagi Ngam Makyuke Tukdan Dagi Ten Yerme Chiktu Chingi Olu Om Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha Om Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha Om Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha. Sashi Puki Chushi Medo Chan Rirablin Shi Nide Gembadi Sange Shindu Mikde Ulwargi Drugu Namda Shingla Chupara Sho Yidam Guru Ratna Mindrala Kam Niryata Yami Sange Chedan Tsogi Chonamla Chanchu Pardo Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonamki Drola Pinchira Sange Drupar Sho Sange Chedan Tsogi Chonamla Chanchu Pardo Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonamki Pinchira Sangye Drupara Sho Sangye Chodan Soge Chonamla Chancho Pardo Dani Kyapsu Chi Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonamki Drola Pinchira Sangye Drupara Sho. Nel Buddha, nel Dharma e nel Sa. Prendo rifugio fino all'illuminazione. Con la pratica della generosità e delle altre perfezioni, possa io ottenere lo stato di Buddha per il beneficio di tutti gli esseri senzienti. Namo yalhayi ke daludane jinke rubuda dami ke namda Drowa kuinge dhanamachi tsampa tamche ke to dagi cheten. Buongiorno.
Good morning.
Mi viene in mente un'immagine, un po'.
An image comes to my mind, a bit particular.
Quando
When
stava costruendo il tempio,
we were building the temple,
io sono stato tanto
I was in the middle of the constructions, following from the project
alla realizzazione.
to the realization. So I know every centimeter of this temple.
C'è una parte mia di essere comunque
And
curioso,
And there's a part of me of being curious and wanting to learn things and knowing how things work, etc., etc. So one of the things I wanted to learn was to learn to use the
nell'orario fuori dal cantiere sapevo dov'era il telecomando.
crane. So in the times that were outside of the, let's say, the working hours, I knew where the key were, and so I wanted to try to use this crane. But when you want to use it, it seems easy, but it's actually very difficult because it's quite the opposite. The remotes are, if you want to go in front, you have to touch the remotes that go backwards. If you want to go to the right, you touch buttons on the left. And also when there is, let's say, something heavy attached to the crane and you go into one direction, if you're not able to stop in the correct position, that thing that the crane is carrying starts going around, and it can become very dangerous, and it can fall and can be very, very dangerous. So I was observing the people that were quite good at it, and when they were going into one direction, if they had to stop in this point, they had to stop a bit earlier, a bit before that, so that when the heavy objects, let's say, were coming through, they kind of went in the opposite position just a little bit in the end of the stopping moment, so in order for the heavy objects not to fall. So this means that when a heavy object goes to one direction and there is something that goes in the opposite direction, then it can go in that opposite direction. So it's the theory of the pendulum. So when you go to one extreme, then it goes to the other. When we go in one extreme, our tendency after is to react going in the direct opposite. And one of the most difficult things is trying to maintain the balance.
cosiddetta via di mezzo.
which is the middle way, the Madhyamika. Buddha in many ways talked about the importance of the middle way, the importance of what doesn't go in one extreme nor the other.
E lo vediamo in tantissimi.
And we can see this in many aspects of our lives, that our tendency is that one extreme brings to the other extreme. And when we go in the other extreme, we have the sensation of being completely in somewhere else, but that opposite extreme will bring us eventually to the other extreme we were earlier. So we have this tendency of going back and forwards, that it can make the crane fall if we're not careful, because at a certain point we can get extremes that are always stronger. It can happen that it becomes
ci sentiamo che perché sono andato all'estremo opposto è come se avessi in qualche modo controbilanciato quell'estremo preciso.
It can become like a dependency, no? So an addiction, but it can feel as if we overcome that previous extreme, but it's not like this. Actually, when we go to one extreme, then eventually we will necessarily go back to the previous one. So it exists a place where we have to maintain a certain balance. We have the tendency of saying, all our suffering, everything that we want, our happiness, depends only on the external reality. So this is one extreme, the eternalism. So everything that we want, everything that has value, has external conditions. So we have to get more money, we have to gain more money, we have to have the correct people around us, we need this and that and that and that. So we go towards this. Then at a certain point, for some reason, we get closer to Buddhism and we say, no, okay, it's not this. Those are just mental defilements. So egoism is the fundamental cause of all our sufferings. So we go towards the opposite direction. But in doing this, the tendency is to say, okay, so everything is based on the mind. And we go to another opposite. But what happens is that at a certain point, when we say that everything depends on the mind and we don't take care of the environment, on the body, not environment just from nature, but also the context in which we live in, what happens is that we're going to another opposite. Then we see that this doesn't work, and we say, you see, so this is not everything the mind. So we go back to the other extreme, with even more strength sometimes. And we do this like going from one extreme to the other until we are able to find a balance. But it's not obvious. For example, the external reality exists, but also an internal reality exists. The internal reality and the external reality are not one the consequence of the other. They are mutually dependent. Our body and our mind are not two separate entities. So if I ask myself, the causes of my suffering are in the external condition or internal condition, this is the wrong answer, because a wrong question. So there cannot be an answer because this is the wrong question to make ourselves. It's like asking, when did everything start? This is the wrong question to ask. We have to ask before of this, was there a beginning? For me, the answer is no. So I cannot say when it began, because for me, there was no beginning. So when we go and see the body and the mind, body and mind are mutually dependent. What happens in the body happens in the mind. What happens in the mind happens in the body. The idea of being in a perfect balance without depending on a healthy body, it's possible only for people that already have a very developed mind. Otherwise, it's not possible. For the majority of us, it's not possible. And even those that have this developed mind, when the body is not well, it's not easy. I remember when Lama Michel Rinpoche, he has this mental stability was incredible, but there was a time where he had certain disease of the body and everything scratched and itched in his body. And you can see that he was a bit nervous. There was something that was... He had this effect on the mind as well. So, of course, if you have a more stable mind, you let this affect you less. But what happens is our tendency is to go from one extreme to the other. Either we give all the blame to the body or to the mind. Or we say, I need to solve everything outside, or I need to solve everything inside. But in reality, what we have to do is to see that mind and body are part of the same thing. So also the environment, actually. These 3 points, body, mind, and environment. These 3 aspects, we see them as 3 separate things. But in reality, they are not. And here we could open a huge discourse on this, but in a few words, what happens in my body, every aspect of what happens in my body has a correspondency in my mind. From the levels of sugar, to the hormones, to the blood pressure, every organ in our body. So whatever it is, it has an effect on the mind as well, on the clarity of the mind, on the emotions and everything else. So it's impossible to try and see the mind in a separate way from the body, or vice versa. On the other hand, what happens in the mind has an effect on the body. So if we talk about the emotions that we have, the thoughts that we have, all of this has an effect on our body. There are infinite things that depend from our thoughts. What I see, what I touch, what I smell, what I eat, every single one of these things of the environment that is around me has an effect on me. So my mind and my body, because we have to remember that body and mind go together, they don't exist independently from the objects of sensorial objects that we perceive. Is it clear? So we think constantly through what we see, we hear, and the images that we think. So based on the 6 senses. So not only the sight, the hearing, the smell, the touch.
Quindi la vista vede la forma, l'olfatto sente gli odori, il gusto
the taste and the mind.
sente il gusto, l'udito sente i suoni, la pelle sente il tatto e la mente percepisce.
So the mind perceives the mental images. So we constantly are in contact with one of these 6 objects. Constantly, of course, also more than one at the same time. For example, now we are seeing and hearing at the same time. So what we are thinking and the way that our body reacts, it's not that it's influenced by what we are seeing or by what we are hearing. The point is that it does not exist independently from. So if we take a sentient being and you switch environments, the sentient being will change inevitably. It's not that it changes like this, but it transforms. And on the other hand, what I see, what I hear, and in a conscious level is a reflex of my own mind and my own body, because I cannot see what my eyes are not able to see.
Un'ape vede diverso che noi.
A bee sees differently from us, a dog sees differently from us. They have different eyes. If I take away my glasses, I assure you I will see something different. Actually, I will see less. Well, I see everything a bit blurry, but so what I see doesn't exist independently from my own body, but also my own mind.
Questa parte che si chiama il sistema reticolare,
there's a thing called
che è proprio la parte del nostro cervello che va a
the anterior reticular system, that is a part of our brain that stores informations, because our sight stores, actually absorbs a quantity of information that is infinite. And what do we do with all of this? We are conscious only of a small part of it. So what I see that arrives to me in a conscious level doesn't exist independently from my body and my mind that does this storage system and, let's say, decides what's to keep or not to keep. And my mind that gives a name to what I see. So when we look at the environment, everything that we see, we touch, etc., the body and the mind are three manifestations of the same reality. So it's very difficult to take a person and it's impossible to take a person and want to see the person in a way that is separate from the environment where this person lives and from what this person interacts with. It's impossible. It's very difficult. We can try, but it will be impossible. At the same way, it's impossible to separate the mind without taking into consideration the body or vice versa. It doesn't work. But our tendency is to go from one extreme to the other. And here, one important aspect exists, which is to observe ourselves and see, in this moment, where am I? In which extreme do I find myself? And this, of course, is about many aspects of life. Okay, so I'm in the extreme that everything is outside. Okay, so let's go a bit back into the opposite. I'm in the extreme of being everything inside. Okay, let's go a bit to the other opposite. Let's remind ourselves that we have a body, there is an environment, and we don't exist independently from all of this. So we try to go back to it, but when we see that we are in a certain extreme, one of the things to do is, with attention, to pull to the other direction. But when we do this, we have to be careful not to fall in the other extreme. It's a bit like the other day I was walking, Giordano asked me something and this image came to my mind. We are walking and there is a wall. We are in one side of the wall and we are trying to climb. But our tendency when we are up is to fall to the other side or the side where we come from. The ability to walk on the wall, it's very difficult. But the middle way is exactly this. So our tendency is to go to one or the other extreme. Of course, there are walls that are a bit larger, thicker, and walls that are less thick. When we talk about the correct view of reality, is a very, very thin, extremely thin, because it's very difficult to fall in the extreme of nihilism or eternalism. In this moment, the majority of ourselves, we are in the extreme of eternalism, and sometimes we pull ourselves up and we can see a bit off from the other side, and we can see this more balanced way. But when we try to climb up, we can see the other side more clearly, but we are scared to fall back, so we go back to where we came from. But to walk in this fine line of the middle way is very difficult. And one of the reasons of why it's so difficult is because when we are in one extreme, we kind of get used to it, to be in this extreme. And this is in regards to many things. So I remind myself sometimes Lama Michel Rinpoche saying, those who speak too much need to learn to stay quiet, and those who never speak need to learn to speak. Those that always want to travel need to stay put, and those that never want to travel need to travel. Those that want to be always alone need to be among people, and vice versa. So we need to try and go to the opposite direction without going into the extreme. This because when we are in one extreme, we have the tendency of creating a habit in this extreme. We create a kind of comfort zone in this extreme. And if in this comfort zone that we create, we adapt. We are very, very good at adapting to various situations. Even when there are absurd situations, we create narratives to go and justify what a coherent reality inside an incoherent reality. I see sometimes these situations where there are things that are absurd and people maybe know that these things are incoherent, but in some way they create stories to justify this and create a place where we feel comfortable and safe. But in the long run, this doesn't work because this extreme will hurt us eventually. So we need to put a lot of strength and effort to change our habits, to go to the opposite direction. And one of the phrases that I heard many times is, but I will not make it.
Non ce la fai?
You will not make it because you don't have the resources to not make it? Or is it because you don't want to? Really? If I tell you, look, start flying without using an airplane or anything else, just like this, just with your body and nothing else. The answer, it's impossible. I can't do it. But if I tell you to stop a habit, learn to tame your mind, the I can't do it actually is a way of saying, it's too much effort, I don't want to do it. And there's a place inside of us that is called in Tibetan, that is the fourth form of
La prima forma di pigrizia dice
of laziness. So the first one is I'm lazy. I don't want to do it. It's the openly admitted laziness. There is this thing to do. No, I don't want to do it. And laziness, what is the union between the certainty of the importance of something with the lack of will of doing that same thing. I know this thing should be good to do it, but I don't want to do it. So this is the first level of laziness. The second level, this thing is important. Yes, I need to do it. But now I cannot do it. I will do it later. So it's a way of procrastinating things. So this is the second level of laziness. The third level is, no, yes, this is important. I need to do this, but I need to do something else now. So it's kind of justifying and to find something else to do in order to not do what you actually need to do. And it's different, because in the first, at least you are taking the responsibility, you're admitting it. I'm lazy. In the second, you're saying, yes, I am the one who doesn't want to do it, but I will do it later. But you take a bit of responsibility. In the third, already you are becoming a victim. Oh, no, I know that I should do this, I need to do this, but I can't. I can't do it now because I need to do this, I need to do that. And we know that this is not true. Because to do it, we can. We need to organize and this and that, but if we really wanted to, we could. And then there is the fourth kind of laziness we were talking earlier. That is the most subtle one, and is the worst actually, which is the laziness where we say, no, this thing is so important, and we put it in the pedestal, and we say how much important it is. Meditating in the morning is so nice and beautiful. Stopping to smoke is so important. Changing this habit, it's so important, and this and that, etc., etc. We give all the importance to this, and then we take ourselves down saying, but I am not able to do it. I would really want to do it. And it's like saying, because I want to do it, I'm okay with my consciousness, with my... So, but I'm not able to do it, so I'm victim of my own reality in a way.
E quando facciamo questo,
and when we do this, we end up in a way to stay in this same place, to reinforce these habits.
questo mi viene in mente una scena.
It comes to my mind a scene.
Tanti anni fa
Of many years ago, I read this biography of Steve Jobs. And one of the characteristics that there were written is that the biography is very well written because there are interviews with various people that had to interact with him in a very genuine way. So it's not something done by him to evoke a certain image. So there are many positive parts and many, let's say, obscure and critical parts of him. And there were some people that worked with him that said, working with him was from the experience most devastating and difficult of my life, but at the same time, the most illuminating experience of my life. And there was this example of one of his engineers that in the beginning, with the first computers, with the graphic interface, that in the beginning, I don't know how many of you remembered the MS-DOS. I started using that when I was like 6-7 years old to play. Anyways, the first graphic interface, the processing power was very low. And it was one of the first, let's say, challenges was to create correct algorithms to create primary forms like a circle, a triangle, a square, using a very little capacity of processing data, because it required a lot. And after a lot of effort, his engineer went there and said, I made it. I was able to do it. And he made him see this interface he created, and he was so happy about this work that it seemed an impossible job, and he was able to do it. And he explained that Steve Jobs looked at him and said,
il rettangolo con gli angoli.
I actually want the angles a bit
Ho già fatto una fatica
blunt, smoother. And he said, no, it was so difficult to already create this triangle and square and this and that. So why do you need it with smoother angles, more rounder and softened angles? I will not be able to do this. Well, it's impossible. Not even, and even more in the times that you require me to do this. At this point, Steve Jobs took him out to walk and said, when you look at the computer, it needs to seem like the normal world. And the engineer asked, okay, but where are the squares that are with the smooth angles? And he started showing him everything in the world that had smooth angles. For example, the credit card and this and that. So many things that exist in the world that has these angles that are smooth. At a certain point, the engineer was so tired, he went home the next day. He arrived to Steve Jobs and he actually made it. He did it. And he said, I would have never thought that I would have been able to do this. Not even more in the times that he asked me. But he was putting so much pressure on me, and actually he was believing in me so much. And he said, I never lived in a situation of more tension than working with him. But at the same time, it was so beautiful where I was able to do things that I never thought I would be able to do. So, this comes to my mind because it means when we are in a place where there is a comfort zone, every one of us, we are much more able to do, much more than what we think that we are able to do. But there is something that is keeping us. And that thing that is keeping us is our fear of suffering, our fear of putting effort, this huge attachment of staying in a comfort zone, trying to wait for something to happen and for us to stop suffering. I don't know if it's clear, but there is this illusion somewhere inside of us. This problem will stop in one moment, something will happen, that everything will be okay.
Mi dispiace dirlo, ma la risposta è no.
I'm sorry to say, but the answer is actually no. It will not happen that something will happen and our problems will stop. But what happens is that there is a gradual path where we can work on different parts and putting them together and putting some water on some seeds and taking care of this, of that at a certain point we can harvest a beautiful flower. But that flower didn't come up like this. It's a result of a huge, huge effort and work in time. We had to prepare the earth, we had to put the seed, we had to take care and put water and this and that. And then, after a while, at a certain point, there comes the flower. But the flower is like a good gardener to obtain the flower will not stay there thinking of the flower. What does the gardener do in order to have flowers? He works the earth, he puts water, he needs to put
concime, eccetera, eccetera.
He needs to put the fertilizer, etc., etc. So if he does this well, then the flower will come up, will bloom. So what I want to say is that it's understandable, our fear of suffering. And I include myself in this. In our fear of suffering, there is this fear of putting effort, of needing to do something where we are not comfortable. And one of the main difficulties in this process is to try and create habits and do things with certain graduality and not taking the pendulum and rushing it to the other side with force, so that we can say, ah, wonderful, we were able to go on the other side. But then with the force that we created, we will go inevitably back the other side. And when we go back, we say, okay, yes, but at least I went there for a moment.
Fare una dieta in un modo super...
It's like doing a diet, like super rigid diet, and then after a while, completely going out of the diet. But then we say, ah, but at least I did it for 2 weeks, you know? And then I ate everything I could. But this is not what actually helps you. What helps you is a balanced diet with consistency.
Perciò,
So
certe volte noi abbiamo questa strana...
sometimes we have this strange idea that extremes kind of balance themselves out. Because, yes, I was very bad with this person, but I was also very good with this person. So there's this philosophical concept that one thing is one thing and the other thing is another thing. One thing does not take away the other. Where more than being it, one thing balances out the other, it's more addition of things that then create a complex equation. But the seeds that we put in one place and another place are always there. I don't know if it's clear, but if I have a certain behavior in one extreme and I have another behavior in another extreme, the behavior in the opposite extreme doesn't take away what happened in the other extreme. That action I did it. The consequences I will take with me. One thing does not delete the other. So what I need to do is gradually, I need to have a behavior that needs to be more balanced in order to create a habit, in order to create a virtuous cycle. And a cycle needs an action, condition, and result. A cycle requires that I not only live an action, I also live the result of that action, and I have a positive reaction towards this, and this creates this virtuous cycle instead of vicious cycle. The fact of pushing or pulling from one way or from one extreme to the other does not work.
Una frase che certe volte ho sentito dire.
A phrase that sometimes I heard, very common and very comprehensible, but at the same time very ignorant, is, but I was made this way. I am like this.
Se così fosse,
if this were the truth, then we need to close the center, we go away. We say to Buddhism, all of this is fake, because I am made like this.
Il Buddha è il Buddha, quello che non...
Buddha is Buddha. What is not Buddha is not Buddha. Who is jealous is jealous. Who is angry is angry. And I'm made like this. So it's worthless to meditate, to listen Dharma, to meditate and do practice. Everything of this really does not help. And someone would say, but Lama, this is not what I mean. I am made like this in the sense that there where I cannot make it to put effort to change some habits, then I am made like this. But where it's pleasurable to make a change, then I can do.
È vero, siamo fatti così.
It's true. We are made like this.
Come se qualcuno ci avesse fatto.
As if someone made us. But okay, let's not open this. But okay, let's say right now we are like this. The question that is there is, can I become different? The answer is yes. But we need a gradual path. if I expect to change from one day to another, I will never make it. But if I put myself in a direction, avoiding some behaviors, those that are not good for me, and going towards behaviors that are good for me, slowly, I can make it. Because life, actually, in life this happens, certain behaviors that are not good, either we take awareness and gradually we try to change them, or at a certain point, life, for various reasons, we will accumulate a bad behavior with another, that at a certain point it comes a result so powerful, so strong, that we have no choice but to change. But it comes in a very, very difficult way, arriving to death itself. There is a relationship between two people. There are some bad aspects between these two people in this relationship. When there is no effort to change the behavior in this relationship, this accumulates, and at a certain point, what happens? It explodes. Either so, for example, with health as well. If we don't take care of our health, at a certain point, something bad, a disease, very bad disease will come out. Or someone that is very stressed at work. For example, it happened, I saw someone that was very, very sick for work, and I told this person, you need, yes, to stop. You need silence. You need to stop for a while. And this person was very wealthy and had a lot of success job-wise, but had a level of stress that was exaggerated. And the answer was, I can't stop. And I said, but if you don't stop, in a while, your body will stop you. And this is exactly what happened. When we are not able to take this strength to stop or to change, then something arrives that, boom, brings you down. Or if there is a difficult, or if there is a not sustainable economical situation, either I change a way that I live my economic situation, or at a certain point I will find myself in the middle of debts, in a very difficult situation that will be so strong that I will be obliged to make those changes that I could have done earlier. Is it clear? So everywhere we see that there are some habits that are not healthy, or we see some healthy habits that we know that it would be good for us, we cannot expect ourselves to change from one day to the other, but at least at the minimum, we should give ourselves a direction and start walking in that direction. This is very important, and we need to remember that every one of us can make it. And the reason for this is that this phrase, but I'm made like this, is very stupid actually. I am made how? In Tibetan we say, I have a Buddha nature. What does this mean? That we have a Buddha nature within us. Some interpret this as if we were Buddhas without knowing it. If this were true, we would be an ignorant Buddha that doesn't even know that it's a Buddha. But it's not this. What it is that our pure nature is that we are interdependent, and that we are not as we are in a solid, autonomous, objective way. It's not that we are like this. I am made like this. We are constantly interacting, and every interaction brings transformation, and every thought influences another thought. Every action will influence the next action. Body, mind, and environment. One goes modeling the other slowly, slowly. And if we can create a healthier interdependence and behavior, then we go towards that direction. And our pure nature is that we don't exist in a solid, autonomous way. It's not that we are made like this. We are constantly in movement, in change, in transformation. And all depends in which direction we put ourselves in. And someone would tell me, but Lama, like this life is difficult, eh? To walk against the current and to go against our bad habits. What is more difficult, to eat what we eat what we like, even though it's not good for us, or to follow a diet that is healthier for us? What do you think? At first, of course, to follow the diet is much more difficult, but in the long run, as the result that it gives, to eat what is not good for us, it's even worse, because if then a cancer comes to us, then at that point it's not even more the diet the problem. I think there's a proverb in Italian that says, what is it?
No, qualcosa come era bello quando era brutto.
Something like it was nice when it was not nice. We were feeling better when we were at our worst, something like this. If we don't take care of things, it will become like this. So it was better when things were worse. This is the saying. So in the sense that if I don't take care of something now, in the end, I will arrive at a certain point where I will look back and say, look how I was feeling better back then. I don't want to scare anybody today. I don't want to say, look, this and this will happen in the future. But just remind ourselves that we need to pull in the opposite direction of our extremes. And slowly, slowly, we can do wonderful things. But one of the phrases not to say to ourselves is, but I'm made like this. We can do incredible things. And sometimes we look at the story, at the history of great masters, and we look at them as something very special, and it's true, but one of the great characteristics is the enthusiastic effort that they put. Milarepa comes to my mind. Who never read his life, please read it. It's so beautiful. One of the principal qualities of Milarepa not only was the capacity of concentration, but his enthusiastic force, his determination to not quit, and move forward and not quit in front of any difficulty that he may encounter. And this is what allowed him to do what he did and to have the realization he had and to become a wonderful being. Milarepa was not born like this. He was born as a kid of a very wealthy family, and then he lost everything, and he had so much hate for his uncle that took all the richness from the mother, and they kept him like a slave. And after a while, when he tried to get back his money, he was not giving that money, and he went away with an enormous wish of vendetta and enormous hate. And he went to study black magic. He came back and basically kills 150 people in the village. And when he sees this, it's said that vendetta actually has a bitter taste. And after he did all of this, didn't lower the pain he had inside, and he was desperate, and he said, I need to find something that has sense in life. And to make a long story short, he encounters this master called Marpa. Someone told him, the only one who can help you, it's this master. And when he encounters Marpa, he sees that Milarepa had a huge potential, but had this weight of negativity, and really treated him so badly, not in the sense that he doesn't look at him, but he starts kicking him to make him go out of from the teachings. But Milarepa slowly he keeps this effort, and after a while Marpa makes him do building and constructions in order to release this negative energy and force that he was bringing with himself. And after a long time, at a certain point, Milarepa is able to liberate himself from this weight, receives the teaching, goes to meditate. So it's not that he received the teachings in this romantic way of seeing it that then had realizations. No, he went to a cave. He went to a cave, started meditating. He did not have money to buy food. This is why he's represented green, because he was only able to eat nettle, and then reached realizations. So did Milarepa put effort, and was it difficult, his life? Of course, let's take outside the romantic way of the story. So let's think that he was in Tibet, in a cave, he was cold, he did not have food, he did not have dresses.
Non era facile.
It was not easy. And this brings me back to another story, that at the end of the life of Milarepa, and he reached beautiful realizations, and at the end of his lives, there was his principal disciple, and they were very close. And at a certain point, the disciple is about to leave for a long travel, and they knew that they would not see each other anymore. And he knew that the disciple knew that his master would have died before he came back. So it was a very important moment. And as tradition, Milarepa walks a bit with his disciple. And then at a certain point, he says to him, "Oh, my son, you can go. I gave you everything you needed for your journey." And he did not mean his practical journey, but his spiritual path. The disciple says thank you, he leaves, and after 50 meters or something, at a certain point, Milarepa calls him and said, wait, come back. I forgot to give you the most important teaching. And Richumpa, the disciple, said, probably, I think he said, thank goodness he remembered, no? And so at this point, he goes back to his master, and Milarepa turns back to him. He puts up his He puts up his skirt and he shows his ass. And it's said that his ass was quite terrible, actually, because of all the years he spent meditating without a cushion, without a pillow. And it was a very bad-looking bottom. And he turns back and he said, "Remember, without effort, there is no result." And it doesn't mean that we need to suffer. It means that we need to have effort, consistency, in order to slowly overcome our behaviors and be able to transcend those behaviors. And it was a heavy a path with a lot of effort for everybody, for the Buddha, for all the great masters, and for us as well. So first of all, let's start with the small habits and saying to ourselves, I can make it. How am I made? I am interdependent. Every small action will bring a transformation, a change, and I am able to do it. And we need some self-esteem and looking to ourselves and saying, I can do it. Others made it, so why shouldn't I? Okay? But to do this, I repeat once again, we need to have less fear of putting effort, of suffering. And it's not correct to say that the path is done with strain, endeavor, and pain. Milarepa himself said,
c'è un altro verso in cui Milarepa diceva andare a meditare.
To go meditate in a cave without having the correct instructions on what to meditate, it's only more suffering and pain than anything else. So what brings results is to familiarize the mind with positive things, not to close ourselves in a difficult situation. So in endeavors and strain, stress does not bring results. What brings results is to create healthy habits with our body, speech and mind. And to change behaviors is difficult. So to have a bit more clarity, to put endeavor and strain is not the correct measurement of our spiritual conduct. But in this path, there is a place where things are not so obvious and we need to go out of our comfort zone. And we can do it. Okay? So let's observe in our own life the extremes where we are. Let's try not to pull with a lot of strength and violence also to the opposite direction, but let's try to find slowly a balance. This is a very important thing, okay? So let's do our dedications.
Lame kutse rapten chin nam karatin le chokchur ge padang lo san tempe drume sasum ki drowe munsel tautu ne gyur chi kewa kuntu yanda lama dang drame cheki pela longche chin sadan lamge yente rapzone dorje change kopa nyurtobsho nimo dele tsendele nime kuyan delekshi ninsen taktu delekpe kuncho sumki chingi lob kuncho sumki ngodrubtsol kuncho sumki trashisho. All'alba o al tramonto, di notte o durante il giorno, possano i tre gioielli concederci le loro benedizioni, possano aiutarci ad ottenere tutte le realizzazioni e cospargere il sentiero della nostra vita con molti segni di buon auspicio. Grazie a tutti, buona giornata.